We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
Let's talk about this. Welcome in, everybody who is new to the channel. I want to welcome you and appreciate all of you being here. Just wanted to express that. Also, just want to let you know that I operate intuitively and symbolically. I share impressions energetically. I volunteer at the Find Me group as a psychic medium and have since 2018, where we do work with hundreds of police agencies around the world. I have independently also worked with police agencies. And I have been saying that I feel like she's alive. And I do believe positively that she will be brought home. I stand behind my original reporting of this. Go check the other videos and lives since we started covering Nancy Guthrie. And I just want you to know that it's time to remain hopeful and to keep our prayers positive. This was a very shocking statement to come out from Savannah Guthrie just hours before that deadline loomed. They believe she's alive. They want our prayers and help. And I want to reemphasize that. And I want to reemphasize that our group, the Find Me group, has some of the best forensic astrologers in the world, etc., and psychic mediums and whatnot. And I wanted to check in just to see what the astrology says, because the longer I study it, the more I believe in its validity. So let me show you what the chart says. It'll give you hope. It'll give you hope. I'm trying to upload it here, but it's not cooperating. So I'm just going to read to you what I found. I don't know. The computer, everything is being a really weird way. Docs today, I don't know. It's wild. But let's just go with what I've picked up, okay? I've combined the charts using, I'm not a forensic astrologer, although the more I study astrology as a psychic medium, tarot reader, I get downloads. I've had visions my whole life since being a teenager, and I get dreams. I have worked with the police and Jack and Lily recently as well. So the more I study astrology, the more I fall back on it for showing major life events. Okay, so it's not going to be telling us that who took her and all that stuff, but it's going to show energetic things going on in her life. And so I've asked for the astrology on the date of birth, which is January 27th, 1942 for Nancy Guthrie. And I've also asked for the astrology using the date she was taken, February 1st, 2026, the date she was reported missing. So symbolically, okay, there is a high level of family tension, inner circle strain. Not naming anybody, it just says late Capricorn, early Aquarius signatures emphasize duty, structure, and authority dynamics within close circles. This pattern often shows pressure points where loyalty, responsibilities, and control collide, particularly later in life. Symbolically, strain with trusted systems, not strangers. The theme present, yes, boundary, stress, inside established relationships. I want to see if I can show it to you. My gosh, it's frustrating. Loss, I'm trying to download it into an uploadable format and it won't let me. So their second theme is loss, separation, cycles. The chart carries strong Saturnian influence, which correlates with prolonged separation, endurance tests, and delayed clarity rather than quick events. So this is where our prayers are going to be really needed for Nancy Guthrie and Savannah Guthrie. You're not going to like to hear what I'm going to tell you when I get to that point of this about what this says around her, the timing of her being found. But I want you to remain hopeful. This chart does suggest she will be found, and it does suggest she remains and will be found alive. But it's not a quick resolution, regrettably. It's not happening today. It's not happening tomorrow. So we're going to need to remain vigilant and continue being positive on behalf of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie, and family and friends and the community. And so the next video I put out that I'll ask you to watch will be prayers for Nancy. Let's continue on. So yes, extended separation, not abrupt endings. That is critical for the general energy. In other words, she wasn't abruptly unalived. The third theme, deception, confusion, or hidden information. Neptune era signatures by generation emphasizes a fog, missed signals, incomplete narratives, and situations where truth emerges in layers. Symbolically, this points to information gaps rather than intentional clarity. So yes, confusion around facts with truth revealed incrementally. Again, wait till you hear the time frame. You're going to be disappointed, but we want to cling to the positive of this. Authorities is the fifth, and legal institutional processes theme around this. Capricorn emphasizes strongly correlates with institutions, governance, rules, and formal processes playing a decisive role. Symbolically, outcomes are more likely shaped by official channels than private action. So yes, institutional involvement, FBI, critical here. Integrated symbolic summary. Taken together, the chart supports the following thematic picture. Pressure and strain within trusted or structured environments. A period of extended uncertainty and separation. Confusion or incomplete information early on. Gradual movement towards clarity through authority or institutional processes, not a sudden revelation. This is pattern recognition only, not configuration of events, motives, or individuals. Nancy Long Guthrie was born January 27th, 1942 in Fort Wright, Kentucky. We also again analyzed the February 1st, 2026 date of her disappearance. Okay. So I want to give you a little bit about her chart, a little bit about her energy. Using the solar chart, the sun is treated as the rising point, gives a strong read on the identity level themes, which is exactly what matters when assessing a life-disrupting event. The core natal pattern, she has her sun in Aquarius, strong autonomy instinct. Independent identity is rooted in independence and self-direction, which we see. She wanted to remain living in her home at 84. She resists control, confinement, and imposed authority, which is what I said when I got the sense that she tried to escape. There was a kerfuffle. There was some blood shown and stated by authorities to be hers on the front doorstep. Okay. She resists control, confinement, and opposed authority energetically. This is a person whose sense of self is tied to freedom. Mercury in Capricorn, structured. She's realistic, she's practical. and has a practical mental orientation. Her life is approached through planning and responsibility. Her Venus is in Pisces, so she's highly emotional and sensitive, compassionate, and has porous boundaries, can be energetically impacted by others' emotional states. Sounds like intuitive, empathic, perhaps, Nancy Guthrie. Her Mars is in Sagittarius, so she's a forward moving life force. She needs openness, space, and meaning, and Mars here does not thrive under restriction. Strong attachment to physical security and stability, and when disrupted, this placement experiences threat very deeply in the body and the nervous system. No kidding. Baseline, her natal chart shows a tension between freedom and security. When stability is suddenly removed, the shock is profound to Nancy Guthrie. Our prayers to Nancy Guthrie. Now I want you to go into, or I'm going to let you listen to rather, the February 1st transit. So this is where her sun departure. Okay, February 1st, 2026 is not a neutral date astrologically. It carries a cluster of slow moving, high impact planetary pressures on her solar chart. Uranus is sudden rupture. Uranus is the dominant trigger. Uranus activates the solar sun. It identifies life direction. This is a classic astrology for sudden break from normal life, events that arrive without warning, a forced separation from routine and personal control. Energetically, Uranus doesn't build, it interrupts. Pluto in her chart shows power, crises, and loss of agency. Pluto is intensifying or operating in a way, rather, that intensifies her vulnerability. It correlates with power imbalance, situations where one's will is overridden, psychological extremity. This is not a light or passing influence. Pluto marks events that restructure a person's inner world. In an event astrology, Pluto often coincides with experiences that feel existential rather than merely difficult. Saturn in her chart is restriction and external control. Saturn's tone during this period reinforces confinement, external limits, a sense of being subject to rules or structures not of one's choosing. Kidnapping. Sagittarius and Uranus together is especially telling. Uranus equals a break, Saturn equals containment. This pairing often shows freedom suddenly cut off. Neptune in her chart shows a disorientation and emotional vulnerability. Neptune adds layers of confusion, fear of the unknown, dissolving of familiar reference points. Neptune does not cause events, but it describes the emotional atmosphere, foggy, overwhelming, uncertain. When you combine an Aquarian freedom-oriented identity with the Uranus disruption, the Pluto power dynamics, the restriction of Saturn, and the disorientation of Neptune, you get a very specific energetic signature. The chart does not read as a gradual decline, a voluntary withdrawal, or a planned life transition. It does read as a sudden, external imposed rupture, loss of autonomy at an identity level, a traumatic break from ordinary life structures, an experience that deeply imprints the psyche. This is the signature an event that happens to someone, not something they initiate. Important. Combining the two dates of January 27th, 1942, where Nancy Long Guthrie, the date she was born in Forthright, Kentucky, to the February 1st, 2026 date she was removed. When we combine those, we get supporting natal factors, structured thinking, realism, pragmatic awareness of systems and authority, high emotional sensitivity, deep empathy, emotionally porous, okay, resists domination or control. So we're going to pray with her energetically to not cause upset while she's in this contained environment. She's mentally strong, non-conforming, independent, experiences life through sudden shifts, rather gradual change, and frequently involved in events that feel fated and disruptive. These are shaped events in her life. Let's move on to a little bit more positive. She's strong. Mars in Sagittarius suggests she has strong survival instincts. She's truth-seeking and resilient in spirit. And even under duress, she has the will to keep moving forward, and she remains alive, it says. Saturn in Taurus, survival through endurance. Strong attachment to safety, home, and physical stability. When disrupted, the shock is deeply embodied. Jupiter in Leo is a strong life force, protective, heart-centered energy, often shows external supporting arriving even after crises. Okay, let's go to the predictive part on the outcome. It shows pressure building over years. Okay, that this pressure has been building over years. It does not signify punishment. Okay, and let me just go to the part. Restriction, external authority, physical or situational limitation is locked in. Neptune's involvement adds fear, mixed confusion, emotional overwhelm, blurred sense of time and space, heightened sensitivity. It explains it's not only traumatic, but physically destabilizing. When Uranus, Pluto, and Saturn and Neptune converge, this is the signature of sudden removal from ordinary events, loss of autonomy, forced confrontation with vulnerability, deep psychological imprinting. This is not a minor transit, of course. This chart, however, I want you to know importantly, does not show annihilation. It shows endurance under extreme conditions. Jupiter and Mars placements support survival energy. It does not support, I want you to hear this very clearly, never found. This is important. It does not show, rather, total erasure. She's not totally removed. It does not show permanent disappearance. And it does not show all outcomes swallowed up indefinitely. Instead, it shows delay, obstruction, and then eventual clarification. The timing is the variable. This is the last little kicker of this video. I want you to hang on to hope, because it doesn't look like we're going to get resolution until potentially August. From February to April, the energy's too blocked for discovery. Late May to July 2026 are some first meaningful openings at the end of May. And the strongest window for being found and located starts August and ends in October 2026. So that is where we need to hold out hope. But remember, Nancy Guthrie is a person with strong independence and resilience. She had a long-term vulnerability increasing before 2026, a sudden external exposure rupturing on the date of her disappearance, February 1st, 2026 in her chart, energetic signatures of shock, constraint, and forced transformation. But survival indicators remain active in the chart. So it does not suggest, again, disappearance into nothing. It suggests impact, endurance, long processing, strong relational bonds. So we need to remain hopeful for Nancy Guthrie, for Savannah Guthrie. Stay tuned for the prayer video to go out next, and we will continue to follow this case. So make sure you've got all your notification bells on and whatnot, so you get all the updates from me. Love and light. Thank you for being here. Prayers for Nancy. Like I said, stay tuned for the next prayer video. in a couple days.